What is the fundamental unit of life? Or in other words, what is the building block of an organism's body? The cell. That's absolutely right. Cells make up the bodies of all living organisms. How many cells do you think an organism needs to live? 1, 2, hundreds? Well, now that depends on the organism we are talking about. An organism like amoeba is made up of only a single cell. Yes, you heard it right. Just one single cell constitutes the body of an amoeba. This cell carries out all the functions of this organism's body, be it respiration, digestion, locomotion, and excretion. What about a cat or a dog? Do they have a single cell? Of course they don't. They have many cells which make up their entire body. There are groups of cells which carry out different functions. For example, all cells of type A will carry out the function of respiration, and cells of type B will carry out the process of digestion. But what are these groups of cells called? Do they have a specific name? Yes, each cluster of cells is called a tissue, and each tissue carries out a specific function.
Good morning, students. So today we are going to start a biology chapter, that is tissues. Okay, so hope so you have cleared with the introduction part of tissues in the previous video. So now I'm going to start the actual topics of the chapter tissues. Okay, now what is a tissue? Okay, a tissue is a group of cells have similar structure but perform different function. Okay, so tissue means it is a group of cells. Cells are grouped together and it has a similar structure. Similar structure means they look the same. Okay, they have a same structure, but even though it looks the same, they perform different functions. Okay, even though they have similar structure, they perform different function. So that group of cell is called as tissue. Okay, what is tissue? It is a group of cell have similar structure but perform different functions. Now tissue is mainly classified into two different types. One is a plant tissue and the other one is animal tissue. Now plant tissue is further classified into two types, that is meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. So these are the divisions of plant tissue, and animal tissue is still more divided into four different types. That is, first one is epithelial tissue, second one connective tissue, third one muscular tissue, and the fourth one is nervous tissue. Now let us study in detail about the plant tissue. First one, let us know about meristematic tissue. Okay, what is meristematic tissue? It is a dividing tissue. Meristematic tissue can be also called as a dividing tissue. Okay, and especially this tissues can be seen in a plant's body. Okay, where this meristematic tissue can be seen, you can see this in plant body. And what is the other name of meristematic tissue? That is called as a dividing tissue. These two are very important points. Okay, wherein meristematic tissue can be also called as dividing tissue, and especially this meristematic tissue can be seen in a plant's body. Okay, so why this has to be situated in plant's body? Because it helps in the growth of plant. Okay, especially this meristematic tissue helps in the growth of plant, so it will be situated on the topmost layer of plant's body. So these are explanation of meristematic tissue. Now coming to the second type of tissue, that is permanent tissue. So permanent tissue means the tissue which provide permanent shape, size and function without dividing. Okay, here dividing takes place, where in meristematic tissue dividing takes place, that is division of cells takes place. But in permanent tissue division will not be taken place. Instead of that, what will happen is that tissue will provide permanent shape and size for each and every part of plant's body. Okay, it is providing permanent shape and size to each and every parts of plant's body. That is done by which tissue? Permanent tissue. The permanent tissue can be still more classified into two different types. One is simple permanent tissue and the other one is complex permanent tissue. Okay, so permanent tissue can be classified into two, that is a simple permanent tissue as well as complex permanent tissue. Now this simple permanent tissue can be still more classified into three different varieties of tissues, that is parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, so these are the three different varieties of simple permanent tissue, wherein all these three are present in the plant's body itself. Okay, so parenchyma is called as fillers of the plant. Okay, parenchyma is called as fillers of the plant. What do you mean by fillers? It will fill all the nutritious content whatever the plant requires. Okay, it fills whatever the nutrition contents plant requires. That work, filling work, is done by parenchyma. Next, second one is collenchyma. Collenchyma is, it acts as a supporter of the plant. Okay, it supports the plant to stand on the soil. Okay, so that is a collenchyma is a supporter of the plant. And the third one is sclerenchyma. Here C is a capital, sclerenchyma. Here this sclerenchyma acts as a protector of the plant. Okay, all the three has different functions, where parenchyma has a function of filling the nutrients, collenchyma has a function of supporting the plant, and sclerenchyma has a function of protecting the plants. So these three are togetherly known as epidermis. Okay, which three? Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma togetherly known as one word, that is epidermis, wherein this epidermis, these two are the main functions of epidermis. What are the functions? The functions are, it is the outermost layer of the cell. Okay, the outermost layer of the cell is also known as a epidermis. Okay, that is the first function. And the second function says it helps in respiration of plants. Okay, so this epidermis helps in the respiration. Even plants also respire, right? So plants, for the respiration of plants, which is very necessary, epidermis is necessary. So these are the two different functions of epidermis. Now coming to the complex permanent tissue. Complex permanent tissue can also be classified into two different types, that is xylem tissue as well as phloem tissue. So next we'll go on to the explanation of what is the xylem and what is phloem. What is xylem tissue? Xylem tissue is called as a water conducting tissue. Okay, so xylem tissue's main function is to conduct water towards the plant's body. Whatever the water we put to the plants, that will be absorbed by the roots, and that water content will be transferred to all the parts of the body. By whom? By xylem tissue. So xylem tissue is called as water conducting tissue, and these are some of the parts of xylem tissue, that is tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. So these are the main parts present in xylem tissue. Now coming to the phloem tissue can be called as a food conducting tissue. Okay, that is the special difference between xylem and phloem which you find. Xylem is a water conducting tissue and phloem is a food conducting tissue, where it transports food prepared from the leaves to all the parts of the body. Okay, food is prepared in the leaves of the plant, and from that part, from the leaf, that food is transferred to other parts of the body by phloem. Okay, so these are some of the main parts of phloem, that is the sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. So these are the special parts of phloem tissue. Now we have studied about the plant tissue. Next we are going to study about the animal tissue. Okay, so under animal tissue, let us first study about the epithelial tissue. Okay, epithelial tissue means it is a protective covering for our cells. Okay, it is a protective covering for our cell, and also the cells are tightly packed. Where? In epithelial tissue. In epithelial tissue, the cells are how? They are very tightly packed to one another. Okay, so epithelial tissue, you can see three different varieties here. That is squamous epithelial tissue, cuboidal epithelial tissue and columnar epithelial tissue. Okay, so these are the three varieties which you can find under the epithelial tissue. Now let us see where this squamous epithelial tissue will be there. This squamous epithelial tissue, it is like a thin and a flat tissue. Okay, how it is? It is a thin as well as a flat tissue. Usually this squamous epithelial is specially found in the mouth. Okay, in human beings as well as in animals, this squamous epithelial tissue is specially found in mouth. Okay, next, when you come into the next type, next variety, that is cuboidal epithelial tissue. This is a cube shaped tissue. Okay, which shape? Cube shaped tissue. Okay, and that tissue is especially found in the kidneys. Okay, where it is found? It is found in kidneys. And the last one is columnar epithelial tissue. This columnar epithelial tissue, it's like a hair-like projections. Okay, it is like a formation of hair. So this hair helps in the movement of a particular cells inside our body. Okay, so these are the three different varieties of epithelial tissue. Now the other type of animal tissue is connective tissue. Connective tissue means the work of the connective tissue is to transport the blood throughout the body. Okay, connective tissue's work itself to transport the blood throughout the body. So these are the two different types of animal tissue. So these two are the last two different animal tissues, that is muscular tissue. Now we are going to study about the muscular tissue. They consist of muscle fibers, helps in the movement. Usually muscles, why muscles are used? Muscles are specially used to make some heavy work and also in the movement, right? So especially this muscular tissue is made up of muscle fibers which helps in the movement. Now in muscular tissue itself you can find the three different varieties. One is a straighted muscles, one is a smooth muscle, and other one is a cardiac muscle. Okay, now we shall see what is this straighted muscle. So straighted muscle means it is a cylindrical shaped muscle. Which shape? Cylindrical shaped muscle. Usually this straighted muscles can be seen in your thighs, okay, in your legs. And in smooth muscles you can see these smooth muscles, they are very smooth in nature, and because of its smooth characteristic, these smooth muscles are situated on the esophagus. Okay, so why it is situated on the esophagus? Because for the easily swallowing of food. Okay, whatever the food you consume towards your mouth, that will be traveled easily towards this esophagus and it will reach to the stomach. So by that time the transferring of food takes place from esophagus. For that, perfect type of muscle is required, that is called as a smooth muscle. And the last one is a cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscles, usually it is situated on the heart. Okay, in the heart, whatever the muscles you can see, that muscle is called as cardiac muscle. Okay, why cardiac muscle is situated on the heart? Because for the rhythmic contraction and expansion, heart will be keep on beating, right? So that beating of the heart is known as rhythmic contraction and expansion. So that rhythmic contraction and expansion can only be given by the muscle cardiac. So cardiac muscle is situated on the heart. So these are some of the information of muscular tissue. Coming to the last type of a tissue, that is a nervous tissue. So nervous tissue, especially this nervous tissue is made by a cell called as a neuron. Okay, neuron is a long specific centimeter is given in your textbook. Okay, so that nervous tissue is made of a neuron cell, and especially this neuron, a very important question of neuron, that is it will be asked for the diagram. Okay, draw a neat labeled diagram of neuron. That is a very important question. Every time they are going to ask that. Okay, even though your FA exam or else for essay as well as your final exam also, that is important. Okay, and even all the parts has to be labeled very neatly. You need not skip any of the part, and that diagram is very important. You can see this neuron diagram in the last page of this chapter. Okay, last page of this chapter you can find the picture of neuron, wherein that is a very important question. So here ends the biology chapter.